thank you everyone for coming out to our first Gatsby Days Los Angeles. So I get to give all the fun announcements to start. A couple reminders, if you need restrooms, they're out in the back behind the food to the right, or you can also go to the left hallway and then turn right. And try not to make the mistake I did, and I washed my hands with mouthwash. I know I'm not the only one. Some guilty parties here. At least if you shake my hand, it will smell minty fresh. Couple other announcements. This is being live streamed and recorded, so if you want to catch it later, you can find the link on our Twitter handle at GatsbyJS. And feel free to tweet as the talks are going on as well. And we have a couple of sponsors. Some of you have met them in the back already. There's some booths set up in the food area, but our gold sponsor is Contentful. So we just want to say thank you to them for being a gold sponsor. And then we have 3 silver sponsors. Ritual, and they are actually hiring now, so if anybody is looking for work, you can go and talk to them. And Craft CMS and Third and Grove, so be sure to catch them in the back, in the breaks. Thank you, sponsors. None of you will need this because I know your rapt attention will be on the speakers. But if you need to step away and check email or whatever, you can find the Wi-Fi here. There's also little signs throughout the room that have the password. Just a reminder, that's our Twitter handle. And I think that covers all the fun announcements. I just want to announce our first speaker, our keynote speaker, Kyle Mathews, who is co-founder and creator of Gatsby and CEO. Kyle obviously is very passionate about making the web a better place and building websites a lot better. Another thing that not a lot of people know about Kyle is if you want to nerd out with him, start a conversation about typeface. And he has strong opinions and knows a lot about it. And so with that, I just want to say welcome, and Kyle Mathews.
Cool. Let's start with how Gatsby was created. So Gatsby was born out of frustration. 5 years ago, I was working on another startup, and actually right here in Inner Sunset, San Francisco. If you really squint, you can see where I was living at the time. And my co-founder and I, we've been working hard for a year on our product, and it came time to show it off to the world. And so I was thinking about what I wanted to use for our website to build it. And I was already really familiar with websites. I've been building websites at that point already for 10 years. And I knew that there was kind of 2 broad options. There's CMSs and static site generators. And CMSs, anyways, and both of them felt inadequate. I didn't really want to use either of them. Also, part of the problem too is that I've been using React for a year at that point, and I'd fallen in love with React and fallen in love with kind of the whole modern JavaScript ecosystem. And so I knew that all 3 of these had kind of pros and cons, but none of them by themselves seemed good enough. And what I really wanted was something that kind of combined the strengths of all 3 of these. Static site generators, they produce really simple sites. They're very fast and easy to host, very scalable. CMSs, they have a lot of kind of user friendliness. It's very easy to create and modify and maintain kind of complex data. You can turn it over to non-technical people, and they can handle that. And React, of course, is a brilliant way to design, build, maintain UIs, and to add kind of rich application functionality into your site. And kind of my frustration with kind of the existing tools, that none of them kind of was this thing that I wanted to exist, and my hope that that thing could exist, is what drove me to start designing Gatsby. And that's what drove me then and still drives me now and drives all of us, is that we believe that our tools can give us, great tools can give us power and freedom to do our best work. That if we work together, we can create things that, are less frustrating, are more empowering, and at the end of the day, enable us to make something that's more close to kind of like what we envision things can be. A great example of that is this website, Coffee Collective, that Anders created. And he's a solo dev at an agency in Denmark. And I watched a Gatsby meetup last year where he talked about building the site. And it's a really complex site, multilingual, multi-currency, multiple types of products. And he built them all by himself and has like a serverless backend. And it's a great example of how Gatsby can empower one person to do like very sophisticated work. Another great example is, I don't know if you all know this, but Little Caesars relaunched like a week and a half ago on Gatsby, which was like super exciting. And yeah, and just yesterday's Super Bowl, they had an ad. And I was DMing with like the lead designer, and he's like, yeah, it's like, Gatsby's holding up like a champ. So, Gatsby's Super Bowl ready, which is cool. I mean, it's the first time Gatsby's been used for a company's website that has a Super Bowl ad. So I don't know. That means something, I guess. But but I think it's a great example, that like we have sole devs and we have like giant corporations. In both cases, Gatsby is the same tool that's empowering them to do their best work and to ship stuff that they're proud of. So super glad you're here. This is like our 4th or 5th Gatsby Days, and they're incredibly fun. It's a great opportunity for like just the community to mingle. And I hope that, and it's like a lot of people are wearing these Ask Me About Gatsby shirts. Like a lot of people that, are actually creating Gatsby and working on this full time right here. And so, so if you're like me, it's like, conferences are great to kind of like connect with people who are actually, doing the work that you're using. And so, make sure to stop people, including myself. Like I'm really excited to talk to as many of you as I can today. I also got a lot of other great talks too later today about all sorts of stuff. So let's talk more about what Gatsby is about. So, Gatsby is first and foremost to help us create amazing websites. And, the standards for what is an amazing website keeps rising all the time. I think a lot of people today, they're looking at sites like Airbnb, like Facebook, Twitter, and, clients, et cetera, are like, hey, build me something like that. And if you've been doing websites for a while, that's like way different than it was even like 4 or 5 years ago, where it was a different world. It's a lot harder to meet this. And that was part of why I was like frustrated with kind of existing tools when I was thinking about building Gatsby, is that I just couldn't do what I knew was possible. And another big part of Gatsby is creating an amazing developer experience, because amazing user experiences have to be developed, and developers are just doing it. So like the better the developer experience, the better the user experience. And there's kind of a few different parts to creating this amazing developer experience. One is that the modern JavaScript app ecosystem is kind of at your is kind of ready for you out of the box with Gatsby. And we have a lot of plugins which kind of extend Gatsby in different ways. Another big part is that you can bring data from anywhere. So no website exists in a vacuum. Like websites are connected to any number of different systems that different people are like maintaining content and data. And Gatsby has like hundreds of source plugins that allow you to like hook up Gatsby to any of these CMSs or other kind of SaaS services and pull in data as you need it to build the website. And a third part of kind of the developer experience of Gatsby is kind of effortless scaling. If you've run CMS websites, they can get very, very painful at scale, as like traffic spikes, et cetera, can bring down your website, or at least give you a lot of stress while trying to prevent your website from going down. And Gatsby, because it produces flat files which go on CDNs, it's much more simple to scale up to from small amounts of users to large amounts of users. It kind of all works the same way. But I think it's really important we've come a long ways. Like Gatsby is like 5 years old. It started as sort of a toy open source project. And it's a little mind-boggling to think how far we've come. But, where where I kind of like see us going, like in a lot of ways, we're just getting started. And there's a lot of missing pieces that we still want to tackle. And one kind of like helpful framing question for this is, WordPress. Like WordPress is kind of like a real dominant part of the web and works extremely well for millions of people. And often I think about, it's like, what would WordPress look like if it was invented in 2020? And that kind of question helped guides like how Gatsby is architected and what we're trying to do. Because WordPress was invented in 2003 when it was first released, and like one big change, the LAMP stack, the Jamstack. So that has a lot of implications for how we build websites. So some missing things. So first is really fast deploy times. So if you use a CMS, like especially for non-technical people, they're used to being able to like change some content, click save, and then it's live. And that's really important because, as we know as like developers, like hot reloading and other techniques like that allows us to like change code and then see what it looks like very quickly. That's very important for, kind of fast iteration and be able to like imagine something, try it, and then have that, like see the effect of that and like, oh, that's not quite what I wanted, and so on. And so these kind of like fast iteration loops are essential. And so fast deploy times with incremental builds is necessary for, kind of wide adoption of Gatsby as sort of the paradigm for building websites. And that's something that we're working super hard to enable with both open source and like the kind of the Gatsby specific building continuous deployment platform. So as many of you probably know, we launched Gatsby Builds last week. And the reason we did it is we wanted a continuous deployment system that worked like we knew it could work. That could be as fast as we knew that, as we know that like deploy times can be. And so this initial release is pretty dramatic improvement for a lot of people. Dustin's going to be speaking more about it later. But like here, it's like my blog is like 40 seconds. And we have some work in progress that should bring that down to under 10 seconds for many types of sites. It's a long road to go to have like really fast deploys for everyone. But we think that's like essential to kind of like make Gatsby what it can be and have the best experience as possible. Another big kind of missing piece for what we're going to be working on is making Gatsby usable by everyone. So a lot of people talk about kind of like no code. It's like, what if you could create a Gatsby website without writing a single line of code? And kind of the vision here is that that's not like that's all you do, but it's more of that's like the starting point. That somebody can like pick up Gatsby building blocks, put together a site, and then if they ever need something custom, then you can turn to a developer and like build out some custom React components or plugins, etc. In the same way, you can like start as a developer and like build something, hand it off to clients or non-technical folks who are like kind of maintaining the website, and they can continue to modify and extend and improve the website in a lot of ways without needing developer help. And we think that's really critical because it's not just developers who are creators, who have sort of this like vision of what websites can be and are responsible for enacting that vision. There's a lot of other talented creative people who don't know how to code. And so kind of building on top of the foundation of what we're doing, layers that non-technical people can like get involved is really critical for taking Gatsby everywhere it can be. So we've been working on something to like, anyways, one piece of making this possible called blocks. And actually, John, is he here? John O'Dander. Hey, so John's in the back. So he's the one responsible for this. So if you're interested in blocks, you should talk to John later. But and he would want me to tell you that it is alpha quality. So like don't like expect too much from it. But I'll give a quick demo of what it can do. So the idea is that the big idea of blocks is that it kind of uses your production code as sort of the source of truth. And so you have this like component here, this pane here, and then if you click over here, you can actually see the actual code. So if you modify the code and then go back, then it updated here as well. And so you can like drag in components, and then the code updates. And then you can also, we built in support for modifying theme UI, like the design tokens. So if we tweak these, oh no. Okay, wait, no, okay. John, I found a bug. Anyways, so yeah, see, okay. We'll stop that. Okay, but yeah. But yeah, so the idea is that, if you've used kind of visual coding editors, this is the same idea, but unlike those, you're not locked into them. It's just producing code. The goal is that we can produce a UI of some sort, workflow of some sort, that somebody can create a landing page and then click publish, and behind the scenes it creates a PR or something like that. I mean, it'll depend exactly on how it's being implemented. But anyways, it's really promising. Okay, so yeah, no code, Gatsby, it's cool. Another big piece is Gatsby themes. So this is not a missing piece per se, as it exists already. We released the first version of Gatsby themes last summer, and a ton of people are using it. There's hundreds of themes that people have released, but it's missing in the sense that it's far short still of its potential. There's a ton of more things that we're going to be doing with themes. And the big idea with Gatsby themes is that it's kind of like a higher order building block. So with Gatsby, you have components and plugins, and themes are sort of a way to combine those into whole sections of the site. So imagine you wanted an e-commerce store that also has a blog. And with themes, all you have to do is install a blog theme and an e-commerce theme, and then start tweaking the design tokens and other parts about it so that it meets your specific requirements. And so this here is a future Gatsby developer who's stacking together different themes. Anyway, so there's a ton of potential there, and we're really excited to keep exploring that and pushing it forward. So yeah, so Gatsby is hugely ambitious. There's a lot there's a lot we've done, but there's tons more that we want to do. And so how are we going to do that? And I think the simple answer is community. It's open source is an amazing way to build software, because by kind of letting everyone own it and and enabling everyone to get involved, massive amounts of work can be done by spreading it across people around the whole world. And yeah, just really excited that yeah, we've hit 3,000 contributors. We're working on translating the docs so that to make it even easier for people all around the world to start using Gatsby and to get involved in contributing to Gatsby. And yeah, and just another sign too, I was looking at the analytics, and we've had in the last month, we've had 200 different people from 200 different countries visit. So Gatsby is already a worldwide it's movement too pretentious? Probably it is. Okay, anyways. It's a worldwide thing. Insert your own noun. Yeah, and that's by all of us working together, pooling our efforts, that's what enables us to do really big projects, accomplish really big things. Just wanted to highlight a few different kind of community members that I think show a good example of what Gatsby community members can be. So Rachel Cherry, I've met her. She jumped on a Zoom call a month or so ago to she's kind of she's been in the WordPress ecosystem for a long time, and she's an expert on kind of open source governance. And so she's been helping us think about okay, Gatsby's is this scale, but when Gatsby's 5x, 10x bigger, things get a lot more complicated. So thinking through, what do we need to do to get there? Nick is a great developer, and he's been doing a lot of really interesting work around themes, particularly around e-commerce themes. And so he has a series of kind of striped themes that enable you to spin up a Gatsby Stripe e-commerce site really quickly. Khalid, I met Khalid he's in Berlin in Germany, and so a number of us met him there last year. Actually, wait. 2 years ago, whoa. Anyways, he's super friendly, super welcoming, super helpful. He does a lot of work around like the Contentful source plugin. He works at Contentful, but he also produces like a ton of free content that a lot of people use to learn how to do different things with Gatsby. Also, a big part of making open source work is kind of like people who can work on it full time and like tackle like really hard problems. And so happy to announce that we now have 25 people working full time at kind of the Gatsby the company. And yeah, it's been really wonderful to find these like really passionate, talented people and kind of start working with them to kind of move Gatsby forward. Also, kind of a recent change is that Dustin Shao is now, Dustin, actually, you here? Yo, in the back, Dustin. So he's speaking next, so you'll be able to like see him a lot more soon. But Dustin was the third kind of open source hire, and yeah, done a lot of great work there. And then as we've grown, the more people are working on open source, we just need more people to like, kind of like coordinate the work and kind of direct the work, both within the company and like the larger community. And Dustin stepped up there in a big way. Yeah, and one of the big things we want to work for is like kind of like a better roadmap and like kind of showing what we're working on and why, and more ways that everyone can participate and help out. Yeah, so yeah, I think the big message here is we got a lot of exciting potential, and together we can build something really amazing. There's a lot of ways you can contribute. There's a lot of plugins that they need to be built, or perhaps bug fixes or documentation improvements. There's a ton of themes that can be built. I see a world that there's like tens of thousands of themes that pretty much anything you can imagine you can download, install, and get going with. And also like the docs. There's a ton of people who use Gatsby docs to learn how to do web development, or they're kind of from like existing PHP CMSs, and they're looking to jump into kind of the modern JS world of building websites. And we have a great opportunity to like teach them how to do that. Yeah, and also lastly, well, not lastly, but almost lastly, it's as kind of I was saying at the beginning, Gatsby came about because I was frustrated about something and I wanted to make it better, and I started doing that. And that's what all of us have the opportunity to like see things we're frustrated and fix it, or kind of like reach out and like ask to like, hey, how can we make this better? Yeah, because there's a lot of things about Gatsby that are not anywhere close to as good as they can be. So if something frustrates you, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be frustrating. Like you can work together with the rest of us to make it better. Yeah, and together we can create tools that give us the power and freedom to do our best work. So here's my contact information, and thank you for coming, and looking forward to talking to you later.